I mean, I'm like 10 different shades right now. I'm like super light and then dark and then tanned. This is what the summer does. Hey everyone, since we are creeping and crawling up until my favorite month of the year, I realized something. In order for me to fully make what I want to make and express myself through art and makeup and prosthetics and special effects and all that stuff, I need something to work with. To make my life a lot of bit easier, I need to make a face cast so I can make my props and everything on that so it'll stick to my face properly. I've been looking around on the internet and on YouTube of how to make a self, face cast. Most of the videos that I found I wasn't necessarily comfortable doing because all of these arguments and stuff about whether or not to put plaster directly on your face. I know it's not good for you, and like different ways and methods and things you need to use and what you want to do. I'm a beginner. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to kill myself and I don't want to put myself at risk, and I don't think you should either. So if it's something you don't feel comfortable doing or something you have no idea just for anything, just don't do it. I don't know why I didn't think about it in the first place just to make it easier. One of my idols in the makeup and special effects world, her channel name is Ellimacs. She does a lot of really, really cool special effects, and she had a face cast tutorial, and it was really simple and easy. Why I am comfortable doing this is because I remember in 8th grade for art class, I remember making face masks, and we used the plaster gauze to, outline her face, and we did it that way, and that's the method that she used. So I will be following her tips, and we'll see how that goes. This is the first time I'm ever doing this. Still don't know whether or not this will work, but we will see together, which is why I like to document and post on YouTube. I had a lovely trip to A.C. Moore's craft store in hopes of finding the gauze instead of having to order on Amazon, which is what I was going to do initially, and I lucked out and I found exactly what I needed. So I've never used this plaster cloth before, but it's Paris Crafts. I think this one was like $10, and it's 8 by 180 inches roll. Hopefully this will be enough for my face. A smaller box just in case, and it's the same brand, and this was $5, so I assume this is only half, so it's 4 inch by 180. I also bought some applicator sponges, sanding blocks. I got wood glue and this big jug of plaster. If I can follow directions, it'll work. If not, this experiment will be a fail, but I'll learn for the next time. Since it's pretty late in the first place, I'm gonna split this into a couple of days or 2 days or whatever. So tonight I am going to just do the plaster cloth on my face and then, make the filling later. I have my jug of water. I have my Vaseline for my hair and my skin. I'm not sure if this will work or not, but I don't have any bald caps. I have a plastic bag. I want to try and bring it back a little bit further beyond my hairline just in case I want to do something. I want to kind of hit all of the marks and, get everything in one shot so I don't have to do anything later. So the first thing, she started off with a clean face, so I didn't bother putting any makeup on. I just washed it. And I am going to, rub my hair with some Vaseline. To avoid an unwanted waxing, slick your hair down as far as possible, unlike what I did, and apply a good amount of Vaseline on your skin and hair. Put a small amount of latex or something to stick the bag down flat, and make sure you don't pull the bag too tight because it will slide off like you see it did with mine if the latex isn't tacky enough. Trim out the little flaps and pieces and cut your ear hole out and kind of smooth it down as much as possible to make a faux ball cap. Step 1 is complete. I actually didn't expect this to work, but it did. I am going to apply the plaster cloth on my skin. I am using very little at a time. You don't want to be too overbearing, especially the first time that you're doing this. Also, just be really careful of where you're placing it. Make sure you have your airways that are open. Make sure you're not piling it too heavy, and just test test it out on a small piece of skin beforehand just to make sure you're not allergic to anything. I'm going to actually start off with the smaller box because you do not need the big one. If you did not know, this is what it looks like. It's just like a regular gauze but with plaster on it, and all that you need to activate it is water. Cut it in small pieces, make sure you get all the cuts and crevices, and hopefully you don't make a mess. How you apply the plaster, you just cut it into however long of a strip or wide or whatever you want to do, and dip it in the water and drain off the excess water so you don't make a horrible mess and you don't wash off all the plaster, and just apply it to your face. Also, don't block your airways. Make sure you have your nose holes open so you can breathe and see. If you want to speed up the process, just use a blow dryer and dry your face for like 20 minutes or so. Oh, this is so hard. Oh, my ears and my hair. This is like super whacked. Oh my gosh. Ouch. Okay, that took off some of my hair. All right. So basically, now what you want to do is cover the eyes and fill in all of the empty gaps that you see. Like if you see in the light, like it's pretty thin here and here, clearly there's nothing in there, and the nose holes. The ears are covered pretty well. I think I'm going to do the other side. And then tomorrow I will fill in with the casting, plaster, whatever, and hopefully it'll be a nice big, cast. I'm gonna go in and pull out all the hair so it doesn't leave lines when I fill it in. I should have did that before. That hurt my ear. I have a headache. So I will see you guys tomorrow when it is time to fill this thing in. This is how it turned out. All I did was I layered it on the inside, and then I sort of kind of sealed the neck piece, so when I fill it up with plaster, it's not spilling out of the bottom. I mean, it's not 100% smooth on the inside. I kind of gave up trying, and I felt like the more layers that I put on, the less accurate it would be to my face. So I'm just gonna sandpaper it and smooth it down and, finish it that way. The plaster that I got was the only one there that was in the store, and it was the same brand as the cloth strips that I got. It's Plaster of Paris. It's like, it was about 10, I don't want to say 10, I don't remember. I don't really look at the price for things. It wasn't that expensive at all. All you will need is cold water, a putty knife, I guess if you're spackling stuff, clean mixing container, sandpaper or sponge, mixing instructions. All you have to do is add 2 parts of the plaster to 1 part cold water, and then you stir until it's smooth. Mix only enough to where you can utilize within 6 to 10 minutes, because that's when it hardens. Discard any unused material or, whatever that's start to harden. There is a huge warning on this thing. They really don't want you to breathe any of this stuff in, and just make sure you're in a well ventilated area while you're using it, and try not to make a mess. And one of the big tips for this thing is whenever you're finished with the plaster, they say it's better to sand while it's wet, like use a wet sand sponge or whatever, because it creates less dust, because the dust can be very hazardous. So hopefully this works out. I will move over to a different area so I can actually mix this and pour it into my mask mold, and we'll wait 24 hours to see how that turns out. To make the plaster filling, you'll need water, a mixing container, a measuring cup, plaster mix, gloves and a mask, the plaster mask itself, and something to support it. The directions ask for 2 parts plaster to 1 part water, and stir it until it's smooth and pour it evenly into the mold, tapping all of the air bubbles out and making an even coat. Do this until it's completely filled and allow it to dry overnight. Make sure to work really fast because this will dry and harden and basically become impossible to work with. For sanding and smoothing out, it was suggested to sand it while it was wet to eliminate dust. So I had a small container of water and my sanding block, and I also have wood glue to seal it when it's done. And I feel like I missed a step or something because it was extremely difficult peeling it off. I feel like you should spray it with some kind of release spray or something for an easier removal, but what exactly, I don't know. So if you're experienced and you know what I did wrong or you have any suggestions for the next time, please comment below so it can help me out and everybody else who's trying to do this for the first time. Anyways, I didn't really have much success sanding while it was damp, so I just chiseled away and smoothed it down with my carving tools while it was dry, and it took a long time. So have patience and take your time. Since I didn't have the patience, nor did I want to shave it down anymore, I simply used wall spackling plasters to fill in the cracks and the holes and reshape my ears, my nose, and my lips, and anything else I wasn't really happy with. But once you're happy, let it dry for a couple of hours or overnight before you sand it down and apply your glue sealant and finish it off. You can honestly spend days and days on this, but I just kind of, after a good amount of hours, I just kind of got tired of it. So smooth out what you can, carve out your nostrils, and clean it off so you can apply your wood glue as a sealant. Make sure to do an even coat as much as possible. You can prop it up and, make sure you get the bottom and back of it so it, stays nice and protected. I let it dry overnight, and then I was ready to do other things with it, and I placed it down on the paper and it just stuck to it and peeled right off. It was like putting on a latex mask. It was crazy. So I tried again with the plaster, and I went back to the store the next day and I bought some Mod Podge glue, and I found the sealant spray underneath the shelf at the bottom. So I just got them both because I was determined to make this work. And if you want to use the sealant spray, just make sure you hold it from a distance in a well ventilated area and just spray it and let it dry 15 minutes between each coat. So this is what it looks like. This was a process, but it was a very interesting one, and I learned a lot. One of the things I discovered is that wood glue is like the equivalent to latex. I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's the type of glue, I don't know if it's the plaster that it doesn't want to stick to, but the thinnest layer will peel right off, and the thickest layer is just like creating your own rubber mask that doesn't really stretch, but it does. Like, it's so weird. I would much rather use the Mod Podge paint instead of the spray, just because like I can kind of control it a lot more and the fumes aren't as intense as the spray. You definitely want to be in a completely ventilated, huge space area if you're ever spraying that sealant anywhere. It is strong. I thought I would be okay. I thought I would have like enough area because this room is pretty big, and I had the air conditioning going, I had the fan going, and just everything was just circulating, ventilating, and I thought it was good. But the instant I sprayed it, it was like it just filled up the whole apartment. So like I had to take it to the basement, so I just didn't finish recording like the layers of spray that I did. So definitely don't do it in a confined space if you want to keep all of your brain cells intact. So just, be mindful of that. But When you're using the Mod Podge paint, you want to make sure it's completely even. I had no patience, and I figured I'd be okay, like, you know, painting it on and it would just like dry clear. Nope. If you see really close, I'm not going to zoom in because I don't like all of the details going on here, but you can definitely see the paint strokes with the applicator brush that I was using. So you can see each and every direction that I painted, and I mean, unless you have like super OCD and it'll drive you insane, I don't necessarily 100% care, because I'm gonna mess this up anyways by applying and taking off the latex and prosthetics and stuff. So this ain't gonna look like this after a couple uses, so that doesn't really get to me. But if it does, make sure you paint it even coat. Even the Mod Podge, like, that peels off like latex as well, so I'm kind of thinking it's this plaster anyways. There was a small little, like, I don't know, like a piece of it kind of peeled off, and like when I pull it, it's just the whole thing's gonna come off like the wood glue did. And I'm trying my best not to pick at it, but I can't help it. So I'm gonna have to paint over it so I don't like pick at it. But I mean, it's gonna happen eventually, like it's inevitable. So like, it's up to you whether you care or not. I will definitely say it is extremely dangerous, and a big no-no to put this plaster anywhere on your skin, like directly on it. When I was done filling it in and I was ready to move it to a different place so my cat wouldn't like knock it over or get it on himself, it gets really hot, and that's like, for me, like really just hazardous if you were to ever put it. I don't know why anyone would put that on. Well, I guess they wouldn't know and they would think, oh, it's okay. Just don't do it. You guys are my babies and I love you, and I don't want you guys to get hurt, so just don't do it at all. Like, I would have never suggested it in the first place, but just in case you're curious or you want to experiment or want to cut corners, don't do it to your face. The gauze did not get hot on my face, so I would say that's your safest bet. There's other methods of applying, you know, or creating your own face cast with other kinds of, I don't even want to suggest because I don't even know. I'm just doing it this way, so that's what it is. One of my biggest tips that I found out and that I learned and that you probably saw and realized while you were watching this, try your hardest to make the application of the plaster gauze as smooth as possible. Don't go in random spots like I did. I just was, you know, being me and just going random and wild and crazy. How you apply it on your face is exactly how it's going to show up, because the plaster is just filling in all the cracks. I thought it would be okay, you know, sanding and smoothing it down. But what I realized, in order for it to be as smooth as I would have wanted it to be made, like how you see in like any like statues, like, you know, baby smooth skin kind of thing, I would have to shave down my face a lot. The more I was, you know, evening everything out, the less accurate it was becoming to, you know, the real deal. Just try and make it as smooth as possible on the inside before you pour the plaster, and then it would just be a lot easier to handle. I'm not sure why some parts didn't fill. Maybe I just didn't knock it or like even it out. What happened after, you know, I did everything, for some reason my lips didn't fill in. As big as they are, they didn't fill in. Luckily, I still had some lightweight spackle plaster left over since I'm like redoing my apartment and stuff, and that works very well as a quick fix. It does dry completely white and it stays that way, and so I mean, it's kind of multicolored and it looks a little weird up close, but it's not gonna look like this after a few applications of latex anyways. Just like now, well, like, I don't understand. This is gonna get my OCD. The only issue with using the spackle plaster as a quick fix repair is that it is very sensitive and very soft, and so I don't know what I just did. Maybe I put it down somewhere, but like it just put a huge dent in where my nose is. So you got to be careful how you place your basement. Just don't go tossing it and having it like put weight on like the light spots that are the weaker areas so they don't break. I would have tried to make a better, you know, repair on the bits and pieces that weren't up to par to, you know, my standards of my face, I guess. But I ended up using the entire tub of plaster mix for this face cast, and I didn't expect to, but I did. Probably because this is more than just my face. Like, I went further back on my head, and I also did my neck, and you had to fill the whole thing in. This thing is really heavy. I would say this is a good like 15 pounds. Like, I'm really nervous that I don't drop this thing and break it, but even if I do, I know exactly how to make it, and I can kind of fix it myself. I don't know what else I can tell you other than this was interesting to create, and I'm really excited to use it, and I'm very happy and excited for this Halloween that's coming up, even though I'm pretty sure, what day is it going to be on? Is it going to be on a weekday? I'm pretty sure it's going to be on a weekday, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to be working and not actually do anything fun and exciting for Halloween. But, I mean, we'll see. So, I guess, with that being said, have a wonderful night, morning, evening, or afternoon, whenever you're watching. And, you know, if you're interested in sticking around, please click that subscribe button and like it and comment and share and do whatever you want to do. And I'll see you guys next time.